Part 6. Are you introvert? Let me tell you something.
Have you ever met someone and immediately thought, wow, this person is so interesting? Like everything they say just pulls you in, their stories are engaging, and they seem to have this natural magnetism that makes you want to know more about them? Yeah, me too. But here's the thing. For most of my life, I was not that person. In fact, I was the exact opposite. I'm an introvert. And if you're an introvert too, you know the struggle. Meeting new people? Awkward. Small talk? Painful. Trying to be interesting in a conversation? Almost impossible. At work, when I had to meet new people, I felt like I was the least interesting person in the room. And in my personal life, I'd meet someone new and immediately feel this pressure to say something smart, funny, or memorable. But instead, my brain would go completely blank. I'd say something basic like, the weather is nice today, right? And that's it. That's all I had. Meanwhile, the other person would go on about some crazy adventure they had, or some interesting book they read, or some weird, hilarious experience. And I'd just nod along thinking, wow, I am the most boring human alive. But then I realized something. Being interesting isn't some magical talent you're born with. It's a skill. And like any skill, you can learn it. So I decided to figure out how to become a more interesting person. And guess what? It worked. Now, I'm not saying I'm the most fascinating person in the world, but I can hold a conversation without feeling like a brick wall. People actually enjoy talking to me now. And the best part? I didn't have to fake it or become someone I'm not. So if you've ever felt like you're just not that interesting, I have good news for you. You can change that. And today I'm going to share exactly how I did it, step by step. Let's go. Step 1. Stop trying to be interesting. I know. This sounds like the opposite of what you want, right? But hear me out. One of the biggest mistakes I made was trying too hard to be interesting. I thought I had to impress people with crazy stories or say something super deep and profound. But that actually made things worse. Because when you try too hard, people can feel it, and it makes conversations feel forced and unnatural. So instead, I did the opposite. I stopped trying to be interesting and started being interested. Step 2, become insanely curious. Here's a secret. The most interesting people aren't necessarily the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who listen the most. I started treating every conversation like a mini adventure. Instead of worrying about what I was going to say next, I focused on the other person. I started asking questions, but not boring questions like, so, what do you do for work? Instead, I asked questions like, what's the most exciting thing that happened to you this week? If you could live anywhere in the world for a year, where would it be and why? What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? And guess what? People love talking about themselves. And when they talked about things they were excited about, it automatically made the conversation more fun. And the best part? They walked away thinking I was interesting, when really they did most of the talking. Step 3, collect interesting stories without traveling the world. At first, I thought I needed to go on crazy adventures to be interesting. You know, like backpacking through Europe, skydiving, or starting a business in Bali. But then I realized something. You don't need to travel the world to have interesting stories. You just need to start paying attention to your own life. So I started doing small things differently. I watched random documentaries about topics I knew nothing about. I said yes to things I'd usually say no to, and suddenly I had more stories to tell. For example, one time I decided to try out Too Good to Go. You know that app where bakeries, cafes, and restaurants sell their leftover food at a discount instead of throwing it away? At first, I just thought it was a cool way to save money on food. But then it turned into a little adventure. I never knew what I was going to get. Sometimes it was an amazing pastry selection from a fancy bakery. Other times it was a completely random mix of sandwiches and snacks. One time I even ended up with 6 cinnamon rolls at once. No regrets. Now when I'm at the office coffee machine, I actually have something to chat about beyond the usual, ugh, I need caffeine. Instead, I might say, guess what I got from Too Good To Go last night? A whole bag of pastries for $3. Best breakfast ever. Or if someone grabs a croissant, I can casually say, oh, you like those? There's a bakery on the app that gives away bags of them at the end of the day. Such a steal. It's a small thing, but it makes those little everyday conversations way more fun. And who doesn't love talking about surprise snacks? Step 4. Find a weird hobby or two. Another easy way to become more interesting? Get a weird hobby. You don't have to become an expert. Just dabbling in something unusual is enough. People love hearing about hobbies that are a little out of the ordinary. For me, that hobby turned out to be axe throwing. It all started when a friend invited me to join him one evening. At first I thought, wait, we're just going to throw axes at a wooden target for fun? But I figured, why not? So I went. And to my surprise, it was awesome. At first, I was terrible. My axe either spun weirdly in the air or just bounced off the target in the most embarrassing way possible. But after a few tries, I actually stuck one, and that feeling, it was ridiculously satisfying. Now, whenever people ask what I've been up to, I can casually drop, oh, I've been learning how to throw axes. And trust me, that gets way more reactions than, not much, just working. Even better, it's an instant conversation starter. People either want to know how it works, where they can try it, or they're just shocked that someone as uncoordinated as me is casually hurling sharp objects for fun. The best part? I didn't have to be good at it for it to make my life more interesting. Just trying something different gave me fun stories to tell and made conversations way more enjoyable. Step 5. Embrace your quirks. For the longest time, I thought I had to be like other interesting people. But then I realized the most interesting people are just themselves. They don't try to fit in. They own their quirks. So instead of trying to be someone I'm not, I leaned into my introverted, awkward personality. If I blanked out in a conversation, I'd just laugh and say, wow, my brain just completely shut down. Let me try again. If I was excited about something nerdy, I'd just go all in and talk about it with enthusiasm. And you know what? People actually liked it. Because being interesting isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. Final thoughts. So if you've ever felt like you're not an interesting person, trust me, I get it. But the secret to becoming more interesting isn't about being the loudest, the smartest, or the most well-traveled person in the room. It's about being curious, collecting small experiences, having fun hobbies, and just being yourself. And when you do that, you'll never have to worry about being boring again. All right, now tell me, what's the weirdest or most interesting thing about you? Let's make this a fun conversation. Drop it in the comments and let's chat.